One of these weeks, Wisconsin is going to have a strong start to a football game. It just wasn't this week.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
I can understand the first half of the first game of the season with new personnel on the field, new coaches, new schemes on offense. I get that, right? That's what happened against Buffalo to start the season for Wisconsin. A slow start, and then they got it going in the second half and pulled away from the Bulls. Okay, you get Washington State on the road. Pullman's juiced. You look like a pretty decent Washington State team in a loaded Pac-12 conference that's very deep. Okay, all right. But this is the third week in a row that Wisconsin has gotten off to a slow start on the offensive side of the football. You get off to these types of slow starts in the Big Ten schedule, I don't know if you're going to be able to turn it around like they have in some of these games, like the Buffalo game and now the Georgia Southern. We're talking about Buffalo and we're talking about Georgia Southern, folks, in this game. Maybe Washington State is an example of what we could possibly see here from Wisconsin down the road. But man, they get it going in the second half, which is great to see. It's great to see, but this game, the 35-14 final score, was a lot closer, in my opinion, than this game really was. It was the opposing team's quarterback that says, here you go, Wisconsin, here's a victory. Because if he doesn't turn the ball over not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 times, and it's not like Wisconsin was playmakers, right, making great plays in the secondary. Now, you got to give them a little bit of credit. You got to give guys like Hunter Wohler a little bit of credit for being in the right place at the right time. But a lot of times, these were ducks. A lot of times, these were not great throws. As long as I'm talking about defense, let's continue with defense for Wisconsin. Because I look at Wisconsin's offense, and I think they're solid. I think at sometimes they're good. Are they great? I don't know. I'm not willing to put Wisconsin as a great offense right now. But when it's going, when that Wisconsin offense is going, it is a good offense. It is an offense that can be a Big Ten West championship offense. But let's get back to the defense. Because when you talk about a Wisconsin team that could potentially play in the Big Ten championship, I don't know if this is a Big Ten West championship defense. Okay, we knew Georgia Southern was going to throw the football around. That's no surprise. If you watched Georgia Southern last year against Nebraska, right, the game that got Scott Frost fired, you knew that they were going to pitch it around the yard. And Wisconsin and everybody knew that Georgia Southern and Clay Helton were going to throw the football around Camp Randall Stadium. And when you play an offense that throws it as much as they do, you're going to give up some things, even if you are a good defense. If you are maybe even a great defense, right, you might give up some things. That's just the fact of the matter. Like when you play, like when defense is like a Big Ten or a defense plays like a triple option team, right, you're not going to be able to stop it every single time. The same goes for this passing attack in Georgia Southern. That being said, there were some lapses in coverage. There were some busted coverages at some times, and I continue to say, I said it at the beginning of the season, that this secondary is not great. They might not even be good. Are they average? Who knows? That's maybe still to be determined as we continue to get more data. We're only through 3 games at this point, but this secondary, from what I've seen in the first handful of games, it's not very good. Okay, it is a secondary that could be a liability as we continue to go on through this thing. You know, people are going to come back and say, whoa, Ted, 5 interceptions. Okay, let's talk about those 5 interceptions. They were gift wrapped, and they were Christmas presents about, 3 or 4 months early. That's what those interceptions were. Now, you got to give credit to guys like Hunter Wohler and others for being in the right spot at the right time. But a lot of times, those balls were ducks. They were gift-wrapped presents to Wisconsin. If it weren't for those gift-wrapped interceptions, this would be a whole different kind of football game, folks. We might have maybe a little bit closer to that Nebraska game last season than we saw in the result. The final score of this Wisconsin and Georgia Southern game, I don't think really tells the entire story of what this game really was. If you have a Georgia Southern offense that doesn't turn the football over, boy, you got a battle on your hands late into the third quarter. You got a battle on your hands into the fourth quarter. Okay, this is a defense that needs to get better. I feel like I'm a broken record. I feel like I said it against Buffalo. I feel like I definitely said it against Washington State. Do I feel better about it? Not really. I don't feel a ton better about this defense right now, even after a 5-interception game, because I know that's a big part of the result of this game. But you kind of take away some of that. They gave up a lot of yards. They gave up a lot of chunk plays down the field. And if you do that, I said the same thing about Maryland early in the game against Virginia. You get down 14-0 against a lot of Big Ten teams, you're not going to do very well in the Big Ten. If you give up those big chunk plays like they gave up against Washington State at times, like they gave up in this Georgia Southern game, you're not going to do great in the Big Ten schedule. All right, let's kind of wrap this thing up. Let's talk about a little bit of offense. I want to talk about Braelon Allen for just a minute. I really feel like Braelon Allen is really suited for an offense that lines up in an I formation, lines up in a single back set, a power running game like you saw for the last 20, 30 years or whatever at Wisconsin, like Paul Chryst recruited Braelon Allen from the great city of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, to come in to this Wisconsin program. Now you got a spread run game. You see, even though Braelon Allen did have a good game getting into the end zone, almost having 100 yards in this game, a lot of that kind of came in the second half of this football game. I don't know what it is about the first half and Braelon Allen, but it just seems like in a lot of these football games, he's nowhere to be seen. I honestly believe, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is my honest opinion. I believe Phil Longo prefers a guy with a little bit of quickness, with a little bit of agility, like Chez Mellusi, over a power back like Braelon Allen in this system. The more time that really goes by, and the more I watch Braelon Allen go, I don't know if he's going to get to 1,000 yards this season, because you're seeing the 50-50 split maybe lean the other way, even in favor of Chez Mellusi at times. And that running game is so big. That running game is so key. I just don't know if this is all going to work out like, say, a 2020 North Carolina, where you had 2 1,000-yard rushers in a Phil Longo offense. It's just, when I look at how Braelon Allen runs within this spread rushing attack, it just doesn't seem like a good fit for me. It just doesn't seem like this is what Braelon Allen wants to do. It seems like it's a better fit, to be honest, with a guy like Chez Mellusi and what he can do in this rushing offense as well. Tanner Mordecai, he's still a good quarterback. He's still a good quarterback. Said at the beginning of the season when talking about this wide receiver group that it could be the best wide receiver group we've seen at Wisconsin, even though that's not a very high bar. I think I've been a little bit underwhelmed maybe about this with this wide receiver core. Okay, I picked Wisconsin to win the Big Ten West at the beginning of the season, and that could still very well happen. But folks, there are some things you got to figure out. There are some things that the coaches, there are some things that the players have got to figure out in Madison, Wisconsin. The Big Ten West is going to be wild. It's going to be crazy this year. There could be 5, maybe 6 teams that could maybe win this thing when all is said and done. Wisconsin could be in the mix, but if they really want to ensure themselves a trip to Indianapolis, they got to get a lot of this stuff figured out. I want to hear what you guys think. Is this concerning for Wisconsin? I feel like I asked that question in the past couple of weeks, but is this game concern you the most about what you've seen out of the Wisconsin Badgers? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Bucky, you gotta think it's gonna get better, but right now, a little bit skating on ice out there. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.